Hello there, Maryland Business Roundtable for Education friends and fans. I have been looking forward to this all week. I am so excited for our session where we are bringing somebody from Washington College to talk about their insider tips and tricks for writing your college essay. So really excited. Can't wait for Kelly to join me. Really have been pumped, looking forward to this just all week. And we're going to get her on here. WC admissions. We're here a couple minutes early, just getting ourselves set up. So if you have joined us, thank you.
Hello.
Oh, yes. Hello. Hi, Kelly. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm so good. So how have you been doing with all of this just craziness and shutting everything down? And how are you?
We've been doing pretty well so far. Thankfully, our entire team is able to work from home, which is great. So we're really thankful and happy for that. I'm actually at my parents' lake house right now, so it's not too bad of a place to be quarantined. But we've been staying busy, still talking to all our students and everything. So we're, knock on wood, doing well so far.
That's awesome. That's so great to hear. Now, I will share, I am also a Washington College alumna, so definitely Washington College is very near and dear to my heart, and I absolutely love sharing with Washington College with my students. So this series is part of a bigger virtual series that we're trying to bring into the homes of our students and community members and volunteers. College Friday. So basically just sharing different tips and tricks, looking at different colleges around the state of Maryland that we just absolutely love. Maryland is pretty awesome with the number of colleges and universities that we have. You know, definitely a soft spot in my heart for college. But don't worry, I don't try to push it too hard on my students, but it's a very good fit for a lot of my students. So I'm really excited about this session today. And Maryland Business Roundtable for Education has a program that we have a grant for called Next Generation Scholars. So that is what I do. I'm program coordinator for Next Generation Scholars. And right now we have students in grades 9 through 11 that are looking forward to their futures, looking at what is life after high school going to look like for me. And many of them are college bound. So we wanted to have this College Friday series to really put all this information in front of them, help them build their toolkit so that they are prepared, because some of the juniors are going to be applying for college like this summer and this fall. So I know we're so excited. So excited. So we've been doing different college visits and just, you know, looking at different opportunities for our students. So we had a great visit to Washington College this past year where the students got to go into the science labs and got to learn about what science and math looks like at Washington College. So that was a really awesome opportunity for our students. And things like this. I'm so excited that we can continue our work even though we're not in schools, that we can bring this great information to our students. So with that said, Kelly, please introduce yourself, share what you do, and you know, we think of you as an expert, and share why that is.
Yeah, sounds good. So as Aundra said, my name is Kelly Valette. I'm one of the assistant directors at the Washington College Admissions Office. I'm also a graduate of Washington College. I graduated in 2018. So I work with families coming from all the Southeast. So typically I travel to Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, any state around there. And then I also represent Anne Arundel and Howard County here in Maryland. So I do have local territories, which also keeps me pretty busy. As you guys know, Annapolis is a big area for us. So I'm often traveling over the bridge as well. But kind of a couple of fun facts about Washington College, if you guys didn't know. So we are actually one of the colleges founded in a new nation. We are the first college to employ women professors on campus only a year after our opening, which I think is pretty cool. We're a little bit of a smaller school located right on the Eastern Shore, right on the Chester River, which is one of my favorite places to visit. Smaller liberal arts school as well. So if any students are really looking for that individualistic, you know, kind of experience, they want to know the professors one-on-one, they want the professors to know them by their first name rather than a number. That's definitely what they're going to find here at Washington College.
That's awesome, and I can definitely attest to that. And 11 years ago, and I can definitely attest. I am still good friends with some of my college professors and advisors to this day. So you definitely do build those good relationships. So for students looking at small schools that have that great community feel, Washington College is an awesome place for you.
Sure.
So I am seriously, I've been so excited for this all week. I love sharing insider information and tips and tricks with our students to help them feel successful. And I'm so excited that you are going to share more about the college essay. So we get a lot of questions, and students kind of get almost a little anxious about the college essay writing process, right? Because they want it to look good. They want it to be a good representation of who they are. They want to make sure that it's something that they can be proud of. And we definitely have a lot of options at the high school for getting help with writing your college essay, but I thought it'd be so cool to get it from somebody who actually reads the college essays. Like, you are on the other side, you're reading applications, you're looking at essays all the time, and I'm sure there have been ones that you're like, oh, this is so good, or oh, don't do this. So we'll get into that a little bit. Why is the college essay so important in the application process?
Yeah, so, well, for me personally, I know when we're reading applications here at Washington College specifically, is since we are that smaller school, we're able to, look at every piece of the student's application. So the college essay really comes into play to tell me, what you want me to know about, yourself as a student. So comparing, maybe something that we need to know versus what we want to know. Whereas, if you're looking at your application and you're looking at the resume, that's more of telling us what we need to know, what we need to know about you, your birth date, where you're from, things like that, what high school you attend. Whereas that college essay comes into play to give yourself, as a student, another platform to kind of tell us what you think we should know about you, what's important about you, what are you passionate about, maybe a story that has had a really big impact on your life and experience that you want to share with us so we can kind of get to know you better as a person. So again, it's just kind of there's another platform to tell us, what's interesting about you, what's unique, something to kind of separate yourself from all the other applicants that we're reading.
That's awesome. So it's definitely important, students. Listen to that. You heard it from somebody who's reading a college essay. So I guess right now, since we have some, personally, I have juniors that I'm working with that are going to get started really soon. How do you get started with the college essay process? What do you do? Where do you begin?
Good question. So I would say take a deep breath first, because a lot of students do think that it's, it's dreaded college essay. Again, it's another platform just to kind of tell us about yourself. So there's kind of two different ways to get started depending on where you're writing your college application. So if you're using the common application versus a different school's, institutional application, it's going to look a little bit different on how you would pick a topic. So for example, if students are using the common application, typically these topics change maybe year to year, but typically they're a lot of the same ones. So typically they'll give you about 6 different prompts that you can pick from. For example, maybe tell us about a problem that you faced and how you overcame it throughout high school or any time before that. Maybe, tell us about a time where you challenged a belief that you were brought up to believe in, maybe something with your family, something like that. Or, describe an accomplishment that you've had throughout high school. Anything that's really going to kind of show us, again, another different side of you, something that's going to separate yourself from other students. Whereas if you're using, say the Washington College institutional application, typically our question is, why Washington College? Why are you interested in us? Why do you want to come here? What about our, liberal arts education is really going to help you succeed and achieve your goals? So definitely look into which application you're using first, just to kind of see the different prompts that are out there, just to kind of start formulating some ideas in your brain. Another kind of helpful tip that I like to give out to my students is once you kind of look at the prompts, maybe have an idea, start thinking about different things you might want to write about. I would suggest you don't have to write the whole essay, but maybe jot some notes down, come up with a topic that's, near and dear to your heart that you want to tell us about, and maybe write some notes on it, maybe outline it, start writing a short essay about it, maybe an intro, and then go back, re-look at the prompts and see where that idea could fit back into a prompt. Because oftentimes it's easier to, again, write about something that you're passionate about and then fit it into a prompt, whereas if you choose maybe write about an accomplishment, you're going to start digging maybe a little bit too deep, and it's going to be a little bit more off of what the prompt is actually asking. So come up with something you're passionate about, come up something that you want to, kind of share with your admissions office that you're writing to, something like that, and then fit it into a prompt.
I love that tip because it's hard, I think, to start with a question where you're like, I don't know, it could be anything. But if you sit down and you're like, what do I really care about? That will just start to flow from you. So you heard it first, you guys. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. No.
Take a deep breath several times throughout it.
Our English teachers in high school were right. Write what you know. hear my like 11th grade English teacher saying, write what you know. That's the best thing that people want to read from you.
Right. And it's more fun to write about something that you are passionate about rather than, if you're given, again, in an English class, if you're given a book that you're not too excited to read, it's not going to be that fun. Whereas if you're writing an essay about something you're passionate about, it's going to be a little bit more fun and less daunting.
Yes, I love that. So speaking of topics, I want to know, this is like the fun part because you have seen so many essays, you've read so many essays. What are some things that you should definitely do when it comes to a college essay? Like, what is it that you have read that you go to a colleague's office and you're like, oh, you need to listen to this story, or you need this essay? Like, what are some experiences that you've had with reading college essays that just wowed you?
Yeah, so I would say kind of these top 3 things are the things that I usually share with my students or, any other students that I'm talking to when they're starting their college essay. The first thing that I really stress students use is something called the name test. I know some college guidance counselors or career counselors have kind of taught their students this as well, which is helpful for us. But this is something that I was really taught throughout my high school, college search process, is going through this name test. So what it is basically, say if you as a student have your first draft of your essay written, and maybe your friend does as well, go ahead and take those 2 essays side by side and trade them. So, if say you're a student and I'm a student, I would take your essay, you would take my essay. And if you would be able to put your name on the top of my essay and it be able to make sense for you, or it be maybe a same experience that you had, it might not be unique enough to pull yourself out of that applicant pool. So for example, I was adopted. So that's something that I wrote about, which, yes, there's some other people in the world who could probably say that, but not a lot at all. And my story is very unique. So again, I wouldn't be able to give that to my friend sitting next to me and to have that make sense for her as well. So that's something that you can kind of try out too, just as your first kind of draft through. Give it to a friend, send it to a friend, say, hey, do you think this is unique enough? That's really a good kind of test to check as well. My second tip would be, again, kind of write more about your personality and character traits. Again, we don't want this to be kind of a copy of your resume, something that we've already read, something we already know. So kind of explain, your personality, write about your character traits, maybe even a flaw that you have that you've kind of overcome or learned how to deal with throughout high school. That's something that's really going to kind of pull yourself out of that applicant pool. And this is something I've already mentioned too, but tell us something we don't already know. So by reading, my admissions counselor, when they were reading my application, they had no clue I was adopted. You would have no idea until you met me, and maybe I told you, because I think it's really cool. So again, something that, isn't going to be looking at your application, maybe go through your application, look at the Common App, think about, okay, what do they not know about me? What is not already listed that I can kind of write and explain and kind of, show them about me as a student?
I love that. Something that isn't already in your application anywhere. So don't just do like another copy of your resume, because you can send the resume, make it something different. Now, is there like a length limit, or do you guys have one at Washington College?
Good question. So it's a little bit different depending on what platform you're using to write your application. So for us at Washington College, usually it's around 250 words, somewhere around there. If you go way over, you're not going to be pushed to the side, but, try to kind of hover around that 250 mark as well. For the Common Application, I'm not 100% sure of what the limit is, but just check, because depending on the prompt, it might be a little bit different as well. Typically what I see students submitting is just a full page essay. Maybe, they split it into smaller paragraphs, 3-4 paragraphs long. But again, it doesn't have to be this long 10-page essay. 1 or 2 pages is pretty average.
That's good news, right?
Yes.
Page is long.
A lot less pressure as well.
1 page, whatever makes you like kind of unique or stand out, something that you enjoy writing about, because I'm sure you've gotten some essays that were maybe not the best. So what are some things to avoid when it comes to the college essay?
Yes. So again, this is something that I've already, preached several times, but don't make it that extended resume. Make it something different and unique. Another good kind of tip that I learned too when I was going through this process is you don't have to kind of plug in those bigger words, those bigger descriptive words, to kind of make yourself sound smarter per se. So you don't have to go onto thesaurus.com and say, okay, how can I find another smarter word for this. The majority of the time we can tell if you've done that, especially if, we've talked to you several times at your high school, we've met you, we've, developed that relationship. We're able to think, okay, this student wouldn't really talk like this. So make yourself sound as unique, as natural as possible. You don't have to kind of, glorify the essay. We just want to know who you are. Another tip that I would kind of, stress to maybe not necessarily avoid, but just be careful of, say you're describing, an event that happened throughout your life, something that, kind of morphed you into the person you are today, and maybe some of the beliefs you have. Make sure that if you're writing about an event, maybe it relates to, for example, your grandfather or your grandparents, they played a really big role in your life. Make sure that you don't talk too much about, say, your grandfather. Don't make your essay all about how great your grandfather is and reasons behind it, because then we're going to want to accept your grandfather and he's the one not applying to the school. So just make sure, if maybe, you're writing about a significant person in your life, always tie it back to yourself as the student. How have they helped, yourself kind of, form into the person you are, because you're the one trying to get into the school. So, we'd love to accept your grandfather too, but you're the one who we want. So just make sure, kind of be wary of that as well. Another really big trick nowadays as well, with all of our students writing them on, maybe their phones, even their, iPads, computers. If you're using the Common App, for example, and you're writing your essay directly in the box where they give you, make sure that you're also maybe writing it or saving it in another place. So maybe if you're using a Google Doc or a Word doc, make sure you save it in another place, because you never know when your Wi-Fi is going to crash. And if you're writing it, I just got goosebumps. If you're writing it in that box in the Common App and your Wi-Fi crashes, it's going to disappear. And that's not going to be, that's going to be way more stressful than anything. So please make sure, I would suggest writing it fully in a Google Doc or in a Word doc first. Edit it, make it finalized, and then you can copy and paste it or somehow transfer it over to the Common App. But don't write it from start to finish in that box, because you never know.
That's such a good tip, because it could, what happens if not all of it transfers over and the counselor's reading it and they're like, so what's the end of the story?
Right.
I don't remember what I wrote.
Yep. And oftentimes too, students will use the Common Application and send it to 10, 20 different schools, and then every school has that application. They have to reach out and say, hey, we need the rest of your essay. So just make sure, save it in different places.
Oh, that's actually a good thing too. If you are sending it to lots of places, make sure you've got the right name in the
Yes, I'm going to add that to the things to avoid. If you're writing an essay specifically, maybe if you're using that institutional application, if you're writing an essay to Washington College, great, write our name in there, put in some, helpful tips or whatever, but don't send it to every school, because I've definitely read applications where it's like, oh, I hope you will, read my essay in acceptance to, University of Maryland. And I'm like, oh, all right.
Like, okay,
so that does happen. Just make sure.
Oh my gosh. Be very diligent in looking through. You're dotting all your I's and crossing your T's, and you're not exactly wrong school. Oh my goodness. So what about the nuts and bolts? Like how do you submit your college essay? Like you already kind of said, make sure you have a separate document, but how do you submit your essay for Washington College, for example? Yeah,
so for Washington College, we actually have 2 different ways you can apply. So we are on the Common Application. We're free on the Common Application, which is always helpful. We don't even have, a code or anything, just when you go ahead and submit, automatically free. So if you're using the Common Application, like I've mentioned, you just put your essay in that box where it says, personal statement, something like that. If you're using the Common Application, and just submit it through there, easy enough. If you're using our own Washington College application, then again, when you come into the portion of the application where it says why Washington College, and kind of type out that, paragraph, 250 word, kind of personal statement, just plug it in there as well. If you have something already pre-written, again, saved somewhere else, copy and paste it in there. Just kind of take a look at the format, because it can get kind of weird. But again, simple as that. If for some reason you submit your application without it and you forgot it, don't worry, especially with Washington College. Like I said, we're a small enough school. You can send an email to your counselor and say, hey, here's a copy of my application or my essay. We can easily attach it to your application as well. So it's not the end of the world. Just make sure you're in contact with your admissions counselor. They kind of know, what's coming, things like that. So usually just attach it to the application, or you can send an email to your admissions counselor.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So are there some like standout essays? Is there like one that you just remember and that you like will forever know, like, oh, this was like such a good essay?
Of course. So there's actually two that I've kind of thought about recently. There was one this past year where, again, my biggest thing is that's honestly, first off, honestly, the college essay is the first thing that I read as an admissions counselor. Because I want to learn who the student is as a person. I don't want to judge them just by their test score or GPA. So I go right to the college essay, kind of a quick, story time for myself, kind of learning about the student. But the most creative, not necessarily even topic they chose, but the way that they wrote it was almost like a haiku or a poem. So again, it doesn't have to be that general structure of an essay. If you're creative, if you're a little bit more of that artistic person, or maybe, again, you write poetry on the side, show me that talent. So I thought that was really cool. That definitely stood out because, obviously at first my eyes went to the different format and I kind of scrolled through the pages and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a haiku. It was kind of cool. So that's something too, you can get creative with it, kind of play around with how you want to structure your essay. Another just kind of heartfelt topic that we do get sometimes, like you said, we definitely kind of run to our different colleagues and say, oh my gosh, you have to read this essay, because we do get choked up sometimes. And we're kind of done for the rest of the day after that. But one of my favorite students last year wrote about how one of his brothers at home has autism, and he is basically one of his primary caregivers and things like that, kind of has to help his mom out with it. And that's something that really just kind of showed me who he is as a person outside of being a student athlete, outside of academics, everything obviously that I already knew on his application. So he just kind of explained his day-to-day, kind of chores with him, how he was helping him out, how, again, his brother has kind of impacted his life, but obviously always kind of, tied it back to himself as the student. So I thought that was really interesting as well. Again, that's not something that I would have found out from his application. Yes, I had met him on campus already, which was great, and I met his brother. He's the sweetest kid. But again, that's something that really kind of hit home for me and kind of showed me who he was as a person and what he valued kind of in his home life as well.
That's awesome. So don't be afraid to get personal in the essay.
Right.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yep. I mean, being adopted is a pretty personal thing. I think it's really cool, so I talk about it all the time. But again, that's something that no one would know from reading my application.
Yeah, that's like a good test when you're trying to come up with a topic. Like,
yes,
something that most people don't know about me, or what is it that sets me apart from other people, like you had said before. What's something that's a little unique.
Right. And that's what a lot of schools are looking at, how, when we're reading applications, we're thinking, how is this student going to make an impact on our school? How are they going to make our student body better? So again, kind of make yourself, it's hard to kind of, talk good about yourself or, not be humble sometimes. But the essay is the place to do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on that same note, I know we kind of went over this a little bit, but do you have any specific memories of essays that you've read that were not good? That were,
honestly,
no, write about this, don't do this.
Yeah. So honestly, knock on wood, our essays are pretty good. There's not one essay that I've like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. But this comes more to picking a topic. So, obviously we do have a lot of athletes who are applying or things like that. Maybe they've been athletes in the past, but again, write about something that somebody else wouldn't have experienced. So for example, in the past, I've had a lot of my students write about tearing their ACL, which, as we know nowadays, is a big thing that happens, unfortunately, to some of our athletes or students who are playing maybe club and intramural sports. And I read, I want to say, at least 5 or 10 essays about that. So again, just make sure, kind of put it back with your friend, get together, say, hey, have you had this experience too? And maybe they have, but it didn't impact their life like it did yours. So tie it back to yourself. Don't hound on, oh my gosh, I tore my ACL at the end of the game, something like that. It ruined the rest of the season for me. So again, just kind of be mindful of that topic. Make sure it's, kind of near and dear to your heart. Make it unique to yourself. So I read a lot of those.
That's such good information, because that's something to think about too, is that you're not the only one submitting an essay. So is your topic super broad? I'm just thinking, like, I don't want to get political, but in an election year, you're probably a lot about the presidential election, which is fine as a topic, but like you're saying, bring it back to yourself. Like, why does that matter to you? Or what is unique about that to you? And I think like that's kind of what you're saying, that will help them sort of.
Exactly. And, you know, again, if you're talking about, you know, an election coming up, something like that, I have read a couple of those too, which to myself, I'm like, okay. And thankfully, a lot of them haven't, you know, kind of pushed, obviously, one way or the other, which is great. But again, you never know who's reading it. You never know what their feelings are towards it or something like that. So again, always tie it back to yourself. That's the safe bet.
Yeah. Make it about you. Don't just about these topics out here. Like, this is how it impacts me, or this is what I think about it. Because that's where you're going to get that personality feel of that individual. So
exactly.
That is awesome. So because, you know, we love Washington College, and, you know, you're here representing Washington College, share some fun stuff about Washington College. You guys have any virtual events coming up or anything like that?
We do. We have changed a lot of our events to virtual events, which is awesome. So we kind of have two different things coming up. If you are a student who maybe had a visit already scheduled coming up, we have switched all of our information sessions, which is something that you can do when you're on campus, to virtually. So we do offer them every day at 3 p.m. So you can go right on our website and sign up for them. They're led by all of our admissions counselors. So we each kind of take turns every day, and it's live. It's kind of like a Zoom session, so you'll kind of get the instructions once you sign up for it, but you're able to ask us questions live. We're able to kind of take that time. There is no time limit to it, so, you know, we can spend an hour with you if you want answering your questions. So we do have virtual information sessions available. We do have a virtual tour on our website as well. It's right on the front page, so if and when, you know, any of your students or any students listening have not seen campus yet, everything is on there, to dorms, the dining hall, the library, waterfront area as well. So definitely take a look at that. You can kind of, you know, walk yourself around campus from home in your bed in your PJs, which is always helpful. As far as bigger events coming up, we do have, actually, if there's any admitted students, admitted seniors watching, tomorrow we do have our virtual Admitted Students Day open house. So go ahead, right on our website, you can go to the admissions tab and go into admitted students. You can go ahead and sign up virtually for the open house. We're going to have different sessions kind of led by different kind of faculty members available after this as well. But one of our associate directors is going to be speaking, as well as the head of the business department is going to be speaking. We're going to have a message from our student government president, Elizabeth Lilly, as well. So there's going to be different things that you can kind of watch virtually from your bed in your PJs, so everyone can just kind of hop on their phones. So we do have that coming up tomorrow as well. And then if there's any rising seniors who are listening, or any kind of in the future, we do have a Rising Senior Day coming up in June. So all that information is already on our website. You can already sign up for that open house as well. As of right now, that's still going to happen on campus, but who knows? So we might have to move it to virtual, but we just did the open house, or we're going to do the open house tomorrow virtually. So fingers crossed we'll be able to kind of do it in person later on, because we want to see everyone. But definitely kind of check out everything on our website. Everything's being updated every day. So if you want any experience basically that you were able to get on campus, we're able to do virtually. We've been doing virtual interviews with students. So again, just as we're doing right now on Instagram, super easy to FaceTime, or, you know, Skype or Zoom, anything like that.
That is so awesome. It's great that you guys have really jumped and done you have some virtual options for students, so that you can still get that information. And I mean, it can be super personal, like this, one-on-one.
Right.
So great. And again, helps you stand apart, stand out from the others that might
be.
Speaking of application, when does the application typically open for next year?
So usually it opens August 1st,
Okay.
and that's for the common application and for our own Washington College specific application. So if you want to get everything prepared while you're, you know, still in school, if you want to reach out to your counselors, grab everything while you can, you know, you can submit it as early as August and kind of get the ball rolling. We do have 3 different deadlines throughout the year, so no rush. You don't have to submit it, you know, kind of towards the end of the summer. But it does open, you know, within the next, you know, 3 or 4 months. You're able to kind of get that in real early if you want to.
And students, this is a great time to start working on that college essay. If you do want to submit it in August.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for spending your time and sharing some insider tips and tricks about the college essay and a little bit more about Washington College. I really appreciate it. This will go on our stories for 24 hours, but we're going to save it and share it so that everybody can kind of get all of these really, really awesome tips. So thank you so much again.
Of course, thank you. And if anyone has any questions for me personally, all my information is right on our website. If you go to admissions and then meet the team, you can find my picture and my email there. So any questions, definitely kind of reach out and I can give you some more helpful tips and tricks for the college essay.
That's great. Thank you so much. So helpful. Great tips. So exciting. And I think you'll see lots of good, Washington College applicants coming your.
I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, you have a great rest of your day. And
thank you. You too.
Thank you. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and more to come for College Fridays.
Yay.
Bye. Take care.